Here we come, blue and white, and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight, and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job, and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your Carlisle fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
It's looking like the players for United as they blow the chance to challenge for a top 3 spot on the final day after a 3-2 home defeat to Salford City. We look back on some of the controversial events of that game before looking ahead to the final game of the regular season as United travel to London.
With a pass so true to Boulder Stone and Clark's in view. There's a cross and a run, the old one.
To face Sutton United, I should have said there. Ran out a little bit of time there in the intro, but I didn't want to.
Well, it was only about the 48th time in recording, wasn't it, Lee?
I don't know why I made it so complicated this week. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, feeling a bit gutted about last weekend, isn't it? With all the results the way it went the other way, you know, we could have been going into this game looking for that top 3 spot, couldn't we?
An indifferent performance last week.
I think you've probably been quite kind there, to be honest. It wasn't great for the vast majority of it, but it certainly picked up towards the end. And then, yeah, we'll discuss the events at the end of the game, won't we, shortly. But, yeah, looking at the playoffs now, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't really complain about that after last season, can you?
No, let's be honest. If you were told at the start of August that we would be going into the last day pretty much assured of the playoffs, barring a complete... you know, balls up at the end, you'd have went, thanks very much.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. We've got plenty to cover anyways, Dan, so let's get into it, shall we? First of all, we're going to tell you about this season's obviously sponsor of the podcast, who've been backing us brilliantly this campaign. Also, where you can subscribe to the podcast and how to get in contact with us. We'd like to say a big thank you to the Carlisle United Supporters Club London branch for once again sponsoring the podcast this season. The London branch is open to all Carlisle United fans. They've got members from Cornwall to Dundee and Houston to Singapore, and of course every part of London and the South East. They regularly meet up on away trips, as well as arranging many social events, supporters games and fundraising for the club. This season they'll be providing us with information for the away games as part of the preview section. You can find out more about the London branch at their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on all good podcast apps, whether it's Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast. Basically search for the Brunton Bugle, click subscribe, and then when a new episode comes out, you'll get a little notification to tell you to download it and listen to it at your leisure. Also, if there's an option to review on any of those apps, please do so. If you can give us a 5-star review, that'd be really lovely. It's a great way for us to get the message out about the podcast, and so more people can learn about it, and yeah, we can spread the word even more. You can also find us on social media, at Brunton Bugle, on Instagram and Twitter. If you go onto Facebook and search for the Brunton Bugle and click like as well, you can follow our page. We're also on the Be Just and Fear Not Facebook group, and also on the Buzz Is Back message board, the new message board that's replaced the cumbrians.net. And also, if you want to drop us an email, bruntonbugle@gmail.com. Right then, Dan, let's get into it. News time. First up, I mean, it's the bit of news that we didn't delay the podcast recording for this reason, but we basically were able to record it the other day, were we? So we thought, let's do it Saturday, so we might know about the news about the appeal against John Mellish's suspension. And unfortunately, it's been unsuccessful, hasn't it?
Yeah, no surprise, really, in my opinion.
No, it's one of those ones, and I can kind of get why people are saying, oh, he didn't push him in the face or anything, and, you know, it's no different to what Watt did. I think the way they're going to be looking at it is the level of force used. Yeah. Yes, Watt shoved him in the back, but it's not that big of a shove. Mellish, I don't think he intends to shove him that hard, and I've absolutely no doubt that Elliot Watt made an absolute meal of it deliberately to try and, you know, I think he could have stumbled backwards and not fallen on the floor holding his face, definitely.
Yeah.
But you basically did it right in front of the referee. You're giving him a decision to make, aren't you? It's silly.
Also, one thing that a lot of fans appear to have missed, Watt actually got booked for his part.
Yeah, and that's the reason why he can't get retrospective punishment, because he has been booked.
It's like, yeah, and, you know, obviously most Carlisle fans didn't notice this because they were too busy, you know, uproar about Mellish. But when I looked on the likes of Soccer Base and the score sites, it actually showed what yellow card. So he got booked, and basically that ends his involvement. But if we do get into the playoffs and we play Salford, I think we should pick Jaden Harris to start the game.
Pick up his booking.
Clatter water after 3 minutes, get a booking, then bring him off.
Get
Well,
his regular
that's just me, yeah.
his regular booking whenever he comes on. Jaden Harris is a guarantee, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Elliot Watt's going to get a lovely warm welcome in the playoffs if we happen to play them in that, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is embarrassing though, to be honest, holding your face when you've been shoved in the chest like that, and it's not even discreet. But there you go. Anyway, we'll talk about Mellish's red card in the match review section. Next up, Dan, we're going to talk about the end of season awards. No real surprises here, is there?
Not really, no.
No, obviously Owen Moxon, shock horror, basically swept the boards, didn't he? Essentially, and you go through the list, and he won pretty much all of them. He won, the Needs to Star Read of the Year, QOS, QSAT, London Branch, season ticket holders. He's basically, not a massive shock, that is it, really?
No, and just adds to his CV, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Take away Owen Moxon, other ones. Christian Dennis getting Player of the Year.
It's the one they all want, isn't it, the player? So he'll be really chuffed with that, I think. So
yeah,
and I think that's a little testament to the amount of work he puts in, because I think we certainly talk about it on here, don't we? But I think a lot of fans don't appreciate the amount of running that he actually does in games, does he?
Yeah. He's also, as we've mentioned before, he's one of the fittest lads in the squad by all accounts.
Yeah. Not the quickest, and we know that, but he works and works and works, doesn't he? So brilliant.
The Westerwald Player of the Season, which is the most man of the matches, isn't it? Was actually John Mellish.
Yeah, that was really nice to see, actually. To see John get an award. And
I don't think it was a surprise Kai Nugent got Youth Team Player of the Year. This is the only one to get a deal.
Yeah.
Toby Shaw Silver, PFA Community Player of the Season. He's done a lot in the community. A lot of it unheralded, and he had his event the other week, and
he goes around, doesn't he, doing a lot of stuff with youth team players, not just at our club but other clubs as well, I think, actually, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a little foundation and stuff. He's just a genuinely good bloke,
Definitely. And obviously Edmo got the champagne moment for the London branch. For his goal at Swindon. Couldn't argue too much with that. I might say Joe Garner's tackle against Hartlepool.
Jack Armour's goal at that Swindon game, goal of the season.
Yes, that was voted for on the night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That one, honestly, for me, it's between him and Taylor Charles. And I think looking at most of the comments online, that seemed to be just tipping in Jack's balance, I think, there, wasn't it? But
and the one other award, Chelsea Norris Ladies Team Player of the Year. Ladies team won the Cumberland Cup this week.
Yes, they did. Fantastic.
Beating Penrith on penalties. I do believe Chelsea plays in goals. Yeah. Someone correct me if I'm wrong afterwards.
Yes, she does, yes.
Yeah. But they won a penalty shootout down at Penrith through the week. So well done to them. Brilliant
stuff. Right, moving on, Dan. One we missed last week, and I do apologise for missing this one. I think it happened earlier in the week, and we just didn't pick it up. Got to give a shout out to United ground staff again, haven't we, Dan? For the amazing job they've done this season, and they've been recognised by the EFL.
Yeah, I've been down in the ground a few times this season, sorting flags and stuff, and every time I walk in, it's striking how good a pitch we have.
Yeah.
I noticed it was in Newport won our division.
Yeah, it was.
Which is probably credit to the work that they finally got round to doing there.
Yeah, it does look much better than it ever has done, doesn't it?
Yeah. But ours is like a bowling green or a snooker table, every time I've gone in, Dave Mitchell's walking along, fine cutting it.
Yes.
Perfectionist, isn't he? I'm sure Dave sleeps on that pitch to keep an eye on it, but no, joking apart, it's one of the best in the league, always has been and probably always will be.
Yeah, Newport County were the winners in our division, and both United and Stockport County were highly commended. I think he gets highly commended at least every season, doesn't he, if he doesn't win it? So just goes to show how consistent he is with the job. Brilliant. One last bit of news before we do a quick loan watch roundup, Dan. This one you picked out yesterday. It's the new EFL TV deal to Sky's been confirmed, hasn't it?
Yeah, EFL and Sky announced last night that the next TV deal, which starts 24-25 through to 28-29, that's been announced. And there's, we've only got the basics so far. There's going to be a hell of a lot of meat on the bones. it wouldn't surprise me if Nigel Clibbins did an article on the club site in the next few days because he's usually pretty on the ball with this sort of stuff. But yeah, there's going to be a hell of a lot more live football,
especially for League Two and League One.
Each weekend set of games, there's going to be 10 EFL games broadcast, 5 from the Championship and 5 from League 1 or 2. So I would imagine there'll probably be an agreement that every team gets at least, say, I don't know, 2 appearances.
Yeah.
Up until, I think it mentioned something about first round of the Cup weekend.
Yeah, that's all that should be sorted up until then.
Then after then, I would suggest it will probably focus more on promotion and relegation battles, you know.
Yeah, definitely, which you can understand. I mean, the hope is that it's not just Salford and Wrexham on all the time.
One thing I did notice was the distribution of the money's changed. It's League Two only getting 8%, so it's a bigger split. The money will go up, but
yeah, not as much as it could have done.
Percentages come down, you know. So it's
But I suppose you get more money when your game's showed live. I suppose maybe a little bit more.
I don't know, and we'll see. And you know, one major thing to note is the blackout has remained. The 4:45 to 5:15. That's in place till 2029. There was suggestions that may disappear, but it'll be. I think we'll have. I mean, Sky do it at the moment where Championship nights to show several matches at once. So it's going to be a cross between Sky Sports and iFollow, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That's what it seems to be.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Right, I've got one other piece of news.
Oh, yes, you do. Sorry.
Yes, there is a Legends match at Penrith. Carlisle United Legends against Penrith AFC Legends at Frenchfield Park. Sunday the 21st of May, 2 p.m. kickoff. £5 admission, concessions £3, children free. I do believe the money is going for MND, motor neuron disease research. So if you've got nothing to do on that Sunday, which will be the day after the second leg of the playoff, get yourself through to Penrith. I'm told the likes of Paul Proudlock, Darren Edmondson, Richard Procast, Danny Granger, Gav Skelton, Jeff Thorpe, and Grant Holt guest appearance.
Interesting. That sounds good. Excellent stuff, Dan. Right, long watch time. Sorry, while you were talking there, I've had to mute myself because I was struggling a bit. So I do apologise. Right, low watch time. Max Kilsby up first, Dan. So Annan, yes, they secured the point they needed, didn't they? To get a playoff place at the end of the season. Still one game left to go for them, but a 0-0 draw at home against second bottom side Bonnyrigg Rose was enough to get them that point they needed.
Yeah, they played the last game today, this afternoon, and I saw a post on Annan's Facebook yesterday. Tuesday they will be home to either Dumbarton or Clyde.
Right.
In the semi-final at 7:45. So if you're at a loose end, there's a game for you.
Yeah, that'd be a really good.
And I do believe if it is Clyde, the second leg will be on the Friday night, not the Saturday, because Clyde share their ground with Hamilton at the moment.
Ah, right, okay, gotcha. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that was a 0-0 draw, clean sheet for Max. Also, he was recognised that evening, wasn't he? He's picked up Annan's Young Player of the Year award, which is a really good testament to how well he's done there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Their last fixture of the regular season, as you say, is today against Stenhousemuir. Gretna 2008 and Lewis Bell, they wrapped up their season on Saturday. They went out in the first round of the Lowland League Cup, losing 9-0 at home to East Kilbride. I mean, their end to the season's been an absolute car crash, isn't it? I think it's fair to say. I see Michael McIndoe left, didn't he, I think, a couple of weeks ago, I think, from the job there. He only joined, I think, halfway through the season, so not great stuff for him. That's the end of Lewis's time at Gretna. 33 appearances, 5 goals. So I suppose from a personal viewpoint, it's probably been fairly decent, but
he's got game time, whether it's at a high enough level, debatable.
I mean, realistically, he's probably going to be going at the end of the season, you'd think, from us.
You would think, yeah.
It's unlikely to stay, so it's a chance for him to kick on in the summer. I mean, maybe the option there might be there for him to go to Workington, because they're going to be playing at a high level next season now, aren't they, Dan? Fantastic stuff. Kai Nugent, obviously, he's been on loan there, got his professional contract, and played a big part as Workington beat Runcorn Linnets 2-1 after extra time in this one. Kai actually set up Workington's equalising this because Runcorn had taken the lead. But he played a lovely low ball in that one of the defenders deflected into his own net. And he actually then hit the bar as well with a long-range effort in the second half. And they managed to get the winner in injury time. And, brilliant stuff for Kai, isn't it? To have a promotion under his belt already. He's just... It's what you want from players when they go on these loan spells, isn't it?
Yeah. He's had solid football. He's started. He's not come off the bench. And he's been involved in a team that's pretty much winning most of the time. And that playoff involvement and subsequent win, be a great experience. There was 3,000 at Reds for that playoff final, which, considering we had nearly 11,000 at home on the same day, was bloody good going.
I think it was actually 2.5 in the end, just over 2.5. I thought it'd be about 3 because that's the capacity, but actually with the segregation stuff, I think they've reduced it quite a bit. So
yeah, right.
But 2.5 still. Incredible. I mean, considering Salford has struggled to get that many at home a lot of the time this season, haven't they?
Well, funnily enough, I was looking at potential playoff away games. I think Salford's average this season is 2,800. It would be interesting to know what it was when you take away followings out, because a lot of teams have took 1,000 there.
Well, I think when we went there, what was the attendance that day? I can't remember. It wasn't that big, and we had...
It was only about 3-2 or something, and we had like 1,400 nearly.
Yeah, so I mean that's quite telling, isn't it? Quite telling. But there you go. Right, let's get into it then, Dan. Carlisle United 2, Salford City 3. Not good, is it? Really, unfortunately, it was. You don't want to be too negative after such a good season, but it just kind of felt like a big missed opportunity, this one, didn't it?
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. I put my finger on it really, but going into the start of the game, big cry. Did you feel nervous going into this one? I had a little bit of feeling of nervousness.
No.
I mean, you actually missed the goals, didn't you? Initially, the Salford goals, I think, and because you had to disappear quickly for something. First half just didn't turn up. That's the problem. We just didn't really turn up, and it's not happened much that season, has it?
No, and they looked sluggish. I mean, obviously I missed the 10-minute period where they scored their 2 goals because my lad started feeling ill, so I had to run him home quickly. Yeah, which wasn't ideal. But no, we just didn't look and sound good, and I think we've sort of put to bed the 4-3-3 argument now, haven't we? Yeah, well, we've got that as a talking point for later on. I think it is an important thing to talk about. But in terms of the team selection beforehand, Simo did stick with that 4-3-3 from against Barrow. The only change was Amari Patrick in the place of the suspended J.K. Gordon, obviously welcoming back Taylor Charters on the bench, which was nice to see. Were you surprised that he stuck with it? That he literally just made that one change? Yes and no. Because, we won the week before, so, you always say don't change a winning team, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
It really is, isn't it? But there you go. Let's get into the game then, Dan. I mean, as you said, first half, you weren't there to see the goals, but you've seen them back. They're 2 really sloppy goals to concede, aren't they? I've probably been a bit harsh because it is good play by Salford, but at the same time, we've got to do better in that situation, surely.
Yeah.
I mean, first goal up for Callum Hendry. It had been quite even up until that point, but then suddenly they just hit us on the break and they stepped up a gear, caught us on the cold. It's a nice through ball from Louis Barry for Luke Bolton, but it's the first time this season I've seen Jack Armour really get done in that situation, isn't it? It was kind of like, ugh, this isn't good to watch. Luke Bolton get past him into that, past Armour on the left, on the Salford right, I should say. Cutting the ball back to Callum Hendry for a pretty easy finish past Howley, wasn't it, really? And from that point, we were a little bit shell-shocked, and it's kind of like, okay, that's the point where you sort of compose yourself, pick things up, and don't do anything silly. 5 minutes later, we're 2-0 down, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I think this is probably the most frustrating of the lot, isn't it, this goal, I think, because there's nothing really on, and Luke Bolton just picks up the ball just inside the United half. It gets a little bit easily away from Armour again, but he's still got a bit to do from there. He gets into the edge of the box with no one really putting a challenge in. Hits a shot. Now, there's an argument. Do you think Holy should do better with this?
Yes, no, it's
a tough one because I'm convinced at the time, and the way it was hit, that he took a deflection. Yeah. You can't see that from the main footage because of the angle. It looks, the camera unfortunately doesn't stay still enough on the pitch side blues to see if it does. I think it flicks slightly off Barkley's heel, and that's what catches out Holy a little bit on this. But with a stronger wrist and maybe better positioning, he maybe should be stopping that one, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
That's the frustration. At that point, it was just like, the key thing here is to not concede another, because if we concede another, then Salford go ahead of us, don't they?
Yeah.
Because of the goal difference, basically. They would have scored more goals than us. It would be goals scored, they'd be going ahead. So at that point, we just had to try and keep calm and get through to half-time, which we did into the second half. Because they had a couple more chances, Salford, in the first half. We didn't really have any clear-cut... I'm trying to recall a decent chance for us. There's none on the extended highlights. Can you think of any?
No,
it's a bit of a weird one. Since the second half, Simo made that switch, went back to the back three, brought on Arthur McCalman. I thought had a really good impact on the game, actually. I thought his harrying made a big difference. We got at them, and it's interesting. A mate of mine, Ian, sent me a message saying the thing we need to do here at half-time is make that tactical change, but don't push too much. Keep it as tight as you can, and then have a real go for it in the last 10-15 minutes. And what do you know? That's what we did, really. So, Ian for manager, I think. 77th minute, we got the goal back. He had one chalked off not long before that. The offside goal, do you think that was offside, Garner's header?
I don't think it was.
It's hard to... My initial thought at the time was he didn't look it. It's hard to tell on the video, isn't it? You can't. He's out of shot, unfortunately, so you can't really see, and the pitch side one doesn't do any good either, really. You need probably the camera angle from the other side, actually, to show you, really, whether he is or not, unfortunately. So, yeah, for this one, Garner wins the initial free kick, 40 yards out on the right. Moxon sends in a brilliant ball. He hasn't done those for quite a while, as we've been bemoaning it a little bit, but it's a brilliant ball in. And that's the Joe Garner you remember, isn't it? Bullet header from about 12 yards out into the back of the net. Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Crowd suddenly lifted. Suddenly Salford are looking a bit shaky. They're starting to make a couple of subs to try and tighten things up a little bit.
It was very similar to Stockport.
Yeah, in that sense, just the lift the crowd gave us was massive. And then the penalty incident. So again, it's a ball played in from Moxon, finds Garner, initially plays the ball back across. He's on the floor, but he manages to get up quickly. And then Shepherd just bundles him over, doesn't he? And there's no doubt it's a penalty.
Yeah.
And then the red card incident. Mellish sort of, what hand is sticking out? He sort of slaps it, doesn't he, really? In sort of a high five-ish sort of jokey way. What pushes him in the back? Mellish pushed his Watt in the chest, Watt goes down holding his face. Ref sends him off. And at that point, it was just so frustrating because there was kind of a feeling that was our chance of winning the game blown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Down to 10. You just never really thought you had any chance.
Down to 10, but about to take a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that point you think that's what's most annoying.
That doesn't happen very often, that you get your own man sent off as a penalty's just being given for you.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Christian Dennis stepped up, got his 20th league goal of the season with a well-taken penalty. He waited for Cairns to move, didn't he? He's very good at that, actually, Dennis. I've noticed that with his penalty. He waited for Cairns to move, put the ball the other way, gets us back in. He actually got booked in the aftermath. Did you notice that, for kicking the ball away?
Yeah. When Dennis, when you watch it, especially on the pitch side Blues one, he doesn't actually stop running when he stutters. Some players literally come to a halt and then move, but he's still in motion when he stutters. He does
just
it very,
slows
very
it down
cutely.
a lot, doesn't it?
And it just allows the keeper to make that first move, and he knows straight away, I'm going the other way.
Yeah, it's great penalty. And then the whole point was, you want to keep it tight at that point, don't you? And unfortunately, we were a bit of a mess with Mellish, obviously having gone off for the red card, and then Devitt pulls up chasing down the keeper, I think, deep in their half. We're effectively down to 9, and in the big gap where Mellish had been at left centre-back, Bolton cuts in from the right and curls one into the top corner, doesn't he, to grab the winner for Salford. And you know the most
there was a deflation when that went in, like.
Yeah, and their fans, obviously, all 400 of them made a racket. Yeah, and I think the most annoying thing was the fact that 2 minutes later the ball goes up for 9 minutes added on, and you're like,
yeah.
If we had 10 men on the pitch, 11 men on the pitch even, you're going for
well,
it.
If we had 11 men, we would never have conceded the third.
No. And we would have been pushing on, and they would have probably made more subs to try and keep it tight.
With 10 men, I think we would still have had a right go at them, but, Devitt limping off, it's not happening, is it?
Killed it at that point. To be fair, what I'd say is actually, in that injury time with Devitt off, we managed it really, really well. We had most of the ball. We basically just we said, right, let's just keep it, have a go, get it back, keep it. And it was, I'd say game management-wise, it actually was really, really good. We never really looked like we were going to score, but it's as much as we could have done in that situation. You don't want to concede another and put yourself in a difficult situation going into the last game, do you? So, yeah, that's fair enough, that was. And yeah, that was it. It's just really frustrating, wasn't it? To come out and think that was a chance to really give ourselves a go in the last game. But there was fight and spirit there, wasn't there? And that's what we've seen when we go behind the games. That's the thing that really impressed me. But there you go. Right, should we do some 6-second reviews before we do some talking points, Dan?
Yeah.
First up, we've got Mike. He was there at the game with me. He sent me in his 6-second review.
It was just another game highlighting the piss poor standard of referees at this level. You got a few calls massively wrong. The Mellish red card, looking back, I think was harsh, but Mellish shouldn't have given him that decision to make by putting his hands up there. Garner's goal disallowed, shocking. Looked clearly onside. But yeah, it was an entertaining game for the neutrals, I think. And once again, we've shown that Salford do not like us changing formation midway through a game, which is something that we should maybe bear in mind for the playoffs.
No, just a fair point, isn't it? Really, they struggle to adapt themselves, Salford, when a formation gets changed during a match. So I still think we stick. The problem is now you haven't got that option to push Mellish into midfield, have you? That's gone. So you've lost that option to change almost. I think you really need that to be able to do that without making a sub. So, yeah, that's one to consider, I guess, isn't it, really? Right, should we do Regan's 6-second review as well?
Yeah.
Let's hear Regan had to say.
I think on the football side of it, we were actually pretty good. I think starting a 5 at the back would have been a lot better because moving Mellish causes a bit more chaos, and I think that would have worked better against Salford. But in terms of the game, I'm quite happy. They're really good attacking wise, and we did well against them. Maybe one we could have won, but the red card changes things, and on the red card, I think a lot's been said about it. I don't think we'll win the appeal, and I think Mellish has just been a bit of an idiot, to be honest. Everybody tries to drag him into them sort of things, and he's just fell for it. And as good as he's been, it could cost us massively in the playoffs because he's such an important player in our team and in both systems that we've played this season. So a lot of praise being put towards him throughout the season, but you can't argue that he's been an absolute idiot. Got to end the season well. I think playoffs is pretty much guaranteed, but it's Carlisle, so it might not be easy. So end the season well at Sutton, and then on to the playoffs, up the Blues.
Also, we don't get the catchphrase because we didn't win. He never does it if we don't do it, does he? So there you go. Can't argue much as that, can you, Dan?
No.
I mean, in terms of talking, let's just straight into it then, because he touched on the tactical decision, didn't he? And I think Simo himself said after the game he got a bit too caught up in the 4-3-3 excitement, didn't he? And should have gone with the 5 at the back for this one. I mean, I sort of hinted it in my thoughts before the game, didn't I? I think. Was it Mike who was on last week? Wasn't it? I can't remember. God, it was a week ago.
Yeah, it was Mike.
Yeah, so you obviously weren't on. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts were before the game in terms of the formation.
Like I say, when you win a game away from home like we did, you you can understand why we kept the same. But, like I said earlier, hindsight is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it. This is the problem we've got in terms of players and things like this. If we're playing against Stockport, we're in a bit of trouble, aren't we? Because at that point, Barkley can't feature. So it's kind of, you're hoping if you're going to play against Stockport, it's going to be in the final, because then Mellish will be back for it to slot in at left centre back, won't he? So that's what you're hoping. If that happens, it's kind of, in terms of the rest of it, what we do, we'll discuss that when we do the preview section for the Sutton game. But yeah, I think Simo, the impression I got from Simo is he's going to go back to the 5-3-2 now, isn't he? Whatever happens this weekend, I think that's one to discuss for the preview section. Well, let's talk a little bit again about. We've done a little bit on it already, but we'll wrap it up. Mellish and his red card, indiscipline costing United probably a chance of the 3 points. I mean, yeah, as we said, it's soft but easily avoidable. If he stays on the pitch, I think we'd probably go on to win it. I genuinely do. I think we had the momentum at that point, and with the 9 minutes as well, having that much time to do it, that would have made a big difference. I think it might have been about 7 or 8 actually, because you've probably lost the 2 minutes of delay from the red card and for the penalty and stuff like that. But yeah, it kind of feels like blew our chance. One thing I will say about this, and I don't know if you think the thoughts on this, Dan, I'm not having the rewriting of history about him from our fans, from some of them. Not from our fans, but some of our fans. About Mellish. There's some people saying he's a liability, he should have been dropped ages ago. Not good enough. It's nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's been excellent this season. He's made a big difference, whether he's played in defence or when he's dropped into midfield. Maybe not so much when he started at 4-3-3 in midfield. I get that. When he's moved mid-game, it's been much better. But he drives us forward. He's the fight. He's the spirit in the team. And we've always known he plays on the edge, haven't we? And some of the great players of all time. I'm not comparing them to them, but they play on the edge. That's the way they play. You take away that little bit of narkiness, that little bit of winding up the opposition players, you don't get as good a player, do you?
No, of course you don't. He very much is the stereotypical heart on his sleeve.
Yeah.
All action, all or nothing. And.
Yeah.
He will always, as soon as he crosses the line, you're getting 100% effort.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with that type of player, very, very occasionally, it will go wrong. Unfortunately, it's gone wrong at a bit of a key time. But,
yeah, it's the timing, isn't it? That's the thing.
I mean, one thing that's not really being mentioned, but nobody will be hurting more than John Mellish himself.
He was like...
He'll be absolutely wounded.
Yeah. Because he knows it's his fault. He knows he's the one who's messed up. You only had to look at him when he pulled his shirt up over his head, didn't he? He couldn't face look at the crowd because he was that gutted at what he'd done. And for a fact he's got him and had a bollocking off his mum as well, don't you? You can guarantee you'll have had that definitely off her. So yeah, no, look, he's got 3 games out to think about it now, and just come back for the playoff final and score the winner. That's the way to look at it, isn't it? With any luck.
Well, as soon as it happened, I suggested that, sir.
Exactly. There you go. In terms of players who've come in as subs in this game, I haven't put one of them down here, but I want to talk about him in a minute. But Joe Garner's given a bit of food for thought last couple of games, hasn't he? Came on against Barrow, made an impact in terms of holding it up and being very steady with his play. In this one, Salford really couldn't cope with him in his aerial threat, could they?
No, not at all.
He made a big difference coming on. He had that one disallowed. I mean, like we said, we think he probably was on, but it's hard to tell. Brilliant header for the thing. Got a booking after he scored his header as well, didn't he, for a late tackle? I don't think it was that bad. I think the player made an absolute meal of it, that one. But which again, I can't remember if that was what or not, but wouldn't surprise me. Massive fanny that he is. So. Question: Does he deserve a bit more of a part to play in the playoffs and upcoming games?
Well, you would suggest, based on that appearance, does he jump ahead of Edmondson in the pecking order?
Edmondson's struggled a bit. He was playing out wide, we know that, and we know he can do, but he didn't really ever get into the game in this one. He also, I should say, looked like he was limping after the game when the players came out.
I think the rest of the season we will be 5-3-2.
Yeah.
I don't think that's negotiable now. And if so, Dennis starts
Yeah.
and the two players beside him. J.K. Gordon had a couple of games, looked all right. Amari Patrick came in.
He looks
nothing
better in the
for me.
4-3-3. He looks so much better in the 4-3-3.
Well, we all
Patrick.
know that Patrick suits the wide left in a three. He's not a two-man, you know.
Yeah.
So that to me says you start Dennis with either Edmondson or Garner.
Yeah.
Now the question then is, do you start Garner or do you bring him on around 65 minutes for half an hour for Edmondson?
Yeah.
Do you use him in bursts or do you start him? You know.
Yeah, that's it's a good question, isn't it? There's only a few
Well,
games left. There, isn't it?
I think with the two up front as well, if you are going to use Patrick, he has to be an impact sub purely for his pace.
Yeah, and the thing is,
because if you're coming on after 65, 70, the game's started to stretch open anyway, which is where Patrick can be more effective with his pace.
Yeah, and the thing is, we all know for a fact that the playoffs are just chaos, aren't they? Just absolute chaos. So it's interesting to see what happens with that, you know. And Garner's got the experience of the playoffs as well. You know, he's won a playoff final, so one of those ones you do want to hit. Huntington as well. Obviously, he's got the same, hasn't he? So there you go. Jack Robinson as well. I just want to give a quick mention to him. I was really impressed when he came on. I thought he put some excellent balls into the box. There was one particularly, he played a really good low ball in that Dennis just couldn't quite get his foot around enough to steer it towards goal.
Right, Ryan Edmondson's got a playoff.
Has it? Oh yeah, of course. Last season I completely forgot about that. Yeah. No, that's a fair point. But yeah, Jack Robinson, Dan, were you impressed with him when he came on?
Yeah. Simo's already said, you know, he's not had much opportunity purely because of Mellish and Armour being bloody excellent all season. But the times he has come on, he's done his job, and he actually got 2 or 3 lovely balls across into the box in his. You know, it was interesting that Simo actually subbed Jack Armour because that doesn't happen often. And
no,
I think Armour will probably admit he didn't have his best game.
No,
you know, he didn't have a good game, but
he just wanted to freshen up, but he didn't want to take Mellish off, did he? I think he wanted to keep him on as well. So
I wish he had took Mellish off.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, isn't it? With hindsight, it's wonderful, isn't it? But there you go. No, I'd really impress him, and genuinely, the more I see him, the more I'm like, I'd have him next season. If he's leaving Borough, I think he's going to be someone who could really push Armour on as well. The two of them competing for that position could be really good.
The question is, we've got Max Kilsby as well, haven't we?
Yeah, but he's more. I know he's played left back for thing, but he's centre back more. And I do wonder if you can get him timed up, get him out on loan somewhere a little bit higher than Annan next season.
Yeah,
potentially. You know, you could National League or maybe even a League Two if you could get him to there. Possibly that would be really good. But I don't know. But there you go. Before we talk about the crowd and then do a League Two roundup, got to give a mention to Jamie Devitt. He must be absolutely devastated because, you know, he's done really well in recent weeks, coming on in games and affected. And actually, it should be said, he won a throw-in that led in the lead up to the first goal, didn't he, for us, where he chased the ball down the right and forced the player to put it out. And, you know, that's what you want to see from players. You want to see that work rate. And he'd done so well. And then straight away you knew as he sat himself down, you were like, oh, that's him done. And possibly him done as a Carl United player, maybe.
It could possibly be his league career.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like
his body's slowly giving up on him, isn't it?
Yeah, in terms of, you know, and the problem is with the sort of injuries he's getting as well. Realistically, is he going to be able to play non-league football that much as well? Just thinking, because, you know, he's going to have to. It's one of those things, and I've said it before. And you don't want to just give people jobs out of sympathy and things like that. But he's clearly a good character. He's clearly someone who's a good influence. If he's into doing his coaching and stuff, and it's something similar beginning, I wouldn't be disappointed if he turned up next season as even as a player coach where he can be registered to be player. You know,
you could register him for emergencies.
Yeah,
and if he's fit, he could maybe play in the trophy games with 1 or 2 of the youngsters. You know,
yeah, exactly. Give them a bit of influence, that kind of thing. He's clearly and I think. Him being around.
It's a shame we don't have a proper reserve team at Carlisle because it'd be ideal to sort of look after that a bit.
Yeah, I feel like he's such a good influence around the place, and you know what? Even having him here this season, even though he's not played that many games, has been a real positive impact. You can see that from watching all the videos they do and stuff. So, Yeah, I know from what I can gather, I don't think he actually went to the awards do on Sunday night. I think he was given permission not to come, basically, because he was that upset. So, real shame. I might be wrong on that. Apologies if I am and he was there, but that's what I heard from someone. So, yeah, it's gutted because we really like him as a player. He's been fantastic to the club. He really has. Before we do League Two roundup, then, Dan, another fantastic crowd, wasn't it? Over 10,000 Blues fans there. And it means we end the season.
I think when the club said 8,000 on Friday, I thought, 10 incoming, know.
Definitely. 10, it was just under 11,000. Obviously, there's about 400 Sol fans, but 10,500 Carlisle fans. And it means we end the season with an average attendance of 6,659, which is our best in 15 years.
I read someone put on, I think it's the Buzz's back forum.
Yeah.
The last 5 games, we've averaged 9,500.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And only one of them's been with a ticket offer, isn't it? So
yeah.
It goes to show. Absolutely fantastic. So we just got to make sure we harness that for next season, whatever division we win, don't we? Yeah. League Two roundup then, Dan. 2 teams had the chance to secure top 3 spots, but it was only Stevenage that got the job done, wasn't it? I mean, I think we kind of expected this, didn't we? Home game against Grimsby Town. If they'd been away, maybe you'd said they might have messed it up, but 2-0 win against the Mariners got Steve Evans' side over the line and into League One for next season. I mean, much as you despise the bloke and, some of the way their players behave sometimes, you've got to give them credit. They've been in the top 3 for most of the campaign, haven't they? So they deserve it. Yeah,
you can't knock them. They've done well.
They've just about got themselves over the line because they had quite a wobble, didn't they? Northampton, meanwhile, they blew their chance as they allowed Bradford City to increase their chances, more on them in a sec though, of a top 3 finish with an injury time winner to secure a 2-1 victory. That means the Cobblers go into their final game of the season at Tranmere, realistically needing a win, don't they?
Yeah, because Stockport at home to relegated Hartlepool, and the way Stockport finishing like a train. Our 2-2 draw actually looks a good result now.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Yeah, you'd be very surprised if Stockport don't win.
Yeah. So, I mean, they got their 3-0 win at Leyton Orient. Leyton Orient
means...
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, because of the goal difference, Northampton need the win.
Yeah.
But Northampton's problem is Tranmere just announced Ian Dawes as manager this week, so you've got an opponent who are basically playing for contracts.
Yeah, exactly. They know now that he's the manager. All right, we've got to impress him in this last game and show we got the good attitude.
It would be incredibly harsh if Northampton missed out on the last day again. They got shit on when Scunthorpe played the youth team last season.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, because Scunthorpe is shit anyway. So I don't look what's happened to them.
Crap, but I don't think there would have been 7-0 if we played a full team.
Probably not. No, but there you go. I mean,
but I was talking to a couple of mates, and I've got quite a few mates in Northampton, and one of them basically said, Dan, if we go in the playoffs, he said we're finished. He said because our injuries are still that bad. He said I just can't see us in the playoffs doing anything. So
yeah, no, 100%. And like you say, it's that 3-0 win for Stockport, quite reminiscent really of Lincoln beating us on the last day, wasn't it, in 94-95, and that Leyton Orient were just basically enjoying their party, weren't they? They didn't celebrate on the pitch after. I mean, they did it after the game with the trophy, didn't we? I remember when we did it before the game, didn't we?
Yeah, which I'm not a fan of.
Very strange decision that back in the day, wasn't it? But there you go.
Yeah.
So fantastic stuff. What an exciting last day, though. That's what you want to see, though, isn't it? You don't want a boring last day where everything's sorted. So, Harrogate Town, though, they did us a favour, didn't they? Because we obviously lost the thing, and if Mansfield had won, we would have been in a very sticky situation. As it is, Harrogate Town beat Mansfield 2-1 at Field Mill, and that means Mansfield's chances are now hanging by a thread, albeit they've been helped by a midweek result, which we'll get onto in a sec. Because they now go into the final game of the season facing an informed Colchester side away from home.
Harrogate have had a really strong end to the season.
They're a strange side. And actually, if you know what, we always go on about whoscored.com and the scores in there, which Owen Moxon looks like he's going to end up being the top League Two player in there, which is brilliant. Luke Armstrong's like 4th or 5th, I think.
Yeah.
He's one I look at, I think,
they've only lost one of the last 9.
Yeah. Remarkable,
won 4, drawn 4. And, you look at the results. They drew at Leyton Orient.
Yeah.
You know, the one away at Newport, the one away at Mansfield. There's
Very
only
strange.
Northampton have beat them in that last 9 games. You know, so
Yeah,
yeah.
it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, so that's going to be a tough one for Mansfield, but it should be said. I'm just loading up the League Two table here before I start this. They've been given a bit of a lifeline, haven't they? By Bradford City. Because Bradford City had a chance in midweek to get a result which not only secured their playoff place, but also left them with a chance of finishing top three on the final day.
I mean, this was some game, wasn't it?
Spectacular. Very stereotypical Bradford arsing it up and their fans losing their shit on the internet, isn't it? 2-0 down. I do German lessons on a Wednesday night at the moment, and I was driving back from them, listening to the halftime report on 5 Live about this, saying like that basically Bradford hadn't turned up in the first half and Crewe were just, finding it a bit too easy. 2-0 at halftime to Crewe. Into the second half, they got 2 fairly quick fire goals. I think they went 2-1. I think the first one was on 46 and then the next one was on 54 to make it 2-2. But then their fans throwed a load of pyro on the pitch, didn't they? A load of smoke bombs, which resulted in the referee taking the players to the touchline and waiting while it was all sorted out. And it took quite a while because that much was thrown on. The result of that was, obviously, all the momentum that Bradford had built up was gone. They struggled to get anywhere near scoring again. And into the 10th minute of injury time, former Blue David Amu got tripped up in the box, penalty, and Chris Long scored to make it 3-2. And
Did you exclaim when you were driving along, "Das ist sehr gut"?
yeah. So good. But no,
That is very good in German for those who don't speak German.
Yes.
I have very pidgin German, so
yeah. And to be fair, mine's not a huge amount better at the moment either. But there you go. So yeah, there was a little bit of afters after the game as well, where shock horror, Mark Hughes didn't react well to some sort of handshake. He's just a loose cannon, isn't he, at times? But there you go. I mean, I'm not sure why. That said, as much as Hughes' reaction is a bit OTT, I'm not sure why a Crewe player is going bragging to Bradford manager when they're finishing 15th in the league. Really, I have a bit of awareness of where you are. Really, that's the first thing I thought. But there you go. But yes, it means going into the last day, Mansfield in 8th on 72 points. With a goal difference of 15. Bradford are 7th with 75. In fact, there's 4 teams on 75 points, right? From us in 5th down to Mansfield in 8th with Salford 6th, Bradford in 7th. The goal differences are us on 23, so we're well clear, so we should be fine.
Mansfield are on 72.
Sorry, they're on 72, I should say. So Mansfield are chasing. But anyway, so Mansfield on 72, but the 3 other teams above them are on 75. But Bradford are on 18 goal difference, Salford are on 19. We are on 23. So we should be okay, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
You'd think. We've got looking at it, we've actually still got the 3rd best goal difference in the division. Which, considering, we haven't scored that many recently, it's quite frustrating, isn't it? But there you go. So we look okay. Salford have got a game. Let me just double check. I've got these at the end here somewhere.
They've got Gillingham at home.
Salford have got Gillingham at home, which not an easy tie, to be fair. Gillingham are ending the season well. I'm just scrolling down the table. I mean, they're still in pretty decent form. They've lost a couple in the last 6, but still getting results when they need. And Bradford are at home against Leyton Orient, which, yes, they didn't turn up against Stockport, but you'd imagine maybe they've been told, right, you've had your trophy celebrations, let's end on a high here. So I wouldn't be totally amazed if Orient got at least a point there, which would be enough for Bradford, obviously, but we'd have to see. And then, obviously, Mansfield are away at Colchester, so that's not an easy tie either. So, of the teams left there, we've got the easiest tie of the lot because we're playing the team that are not in form at all. Which is ironic, isn't it, really? There you go. Right, we're going to take a short break and then we'll be back to preview the Sutton game.
Hi, I'm Owen Moxon and you're listening to the Brunton Bugle.
Only one man to cover this week for the halftime break, wasn't there, really, Dan? The award winner himself, And also, I should say, he drew level on assists with Elliot Watt at the weekend, didn't he? Because Watt didn't assist any of Salford's goals, so he's got 15 for the season. So if he can get an assist here and hopefully Watt doesn't get one against Gillingham, that would be him top assister in League 2 in his first season, which is a fantastic achievement, really. And considering Watt hasn't scored a goal this season either, and Moxon's got 6, Shows all round his contribution's been brilliant, hasn't it? Right, preview time done. I'm going to look ahead to the final game of the regular season against Sutton United. Before we do the behind enemy lines, Mike has done us a question. Now, I asked him to do one. He was struggling maybe for a Sutton one, so I said, if you can't think of a Sutton one, think of a end of season themed one, maybe, or something like that.
Oh, Christ.
So, interesting to see what he's come up with. So let's hear.
After this, we've also got John Coleman's question, which is a great one.
Yes, and we really struggled with that, didn't we? So we'll see how it goes. So here's Mike's question of the week.
Now, it's not too common an occurrence that the last game of the season for us isn't a Saturday 3:00 kickoff like it is this year. When was the last time that our last match of the season was not a Saturday 3:00 kickoff? And I'm not including the COVID season.
I think I know this. It was the Exeter game a few seasons ago. It was a 5:30 kickoff.
But was it a Saturday?
But he said Saturday 3:00, didn't he?
Oh, as just 3:00.
I think that's what he meant. Yeah, I think. Let's check the question again.
Now, it's not too common an occurrence that the last game of the season for us isn't a Saturday 3:00 kickoff like it is this year. When was the last time that our last match of the season was not a Saturday 3:00 kickoff? And I'm not including the COVID season.
Well, there you go. That's it. It was the 5:30 kickoff against Exeter when we won 3-2 to get in the playoffs, and then went and arsed up against Exeter in the playoffs as well. So great stuff. Right, let's listen to the answer. I hope I'm right then. There's not been one since that I've missed.
It was 2017 when we got a thrilling 3-2 win away at Exeter City, and it kicked off at 5:30 on a Saturday.
There you go. I knew it was that, because I always remember the fact that I looked into going on the train to that one, and you couldn't actually get back on the train, obviously.
We played Exeter City 4 times that season. We beat them 3-2 at home, 3-2 away, drew 3 all up here in the playoffs, and then got beat 3-2 down at theirs.
Did we beat them 3-2 at home? I thought they beat us 3-2 at our place.
No. We won.
Just about on aggregate.
I'm sure we won 3-2 up here.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm just looking now.
Ridiculous set of games.
Yeah, we won 3-2 in November.
It just shows what a ridiculous set of games we played
Because
against.
Jamie Devitt was sent off last minute.
Yes, I remember that, wasn't it? I seem to remember it was a bit of a nasty challenge as well. The kind of thing you forget with Devitt is he likes to get stuck in, doesn't he? You know, he's a flair, attacking midfielder, but he works hard. But there you go. Right.
The other question, John Coleman set us. He's obviously been delving in the archives at Newspaper House, and he's set us a picture teaser, name the try list. We don't think we've got the answer on this one. It's annoying the hell out of me, because I'm sure I recognise this player, but I wonder if I'm kidding myself, because I've stared at it for hours on end.
He kind of looks, to me, every time I look at it, he looks like a not too young, but sort of a middle-aged, not middle-aged, but middle-ish of his career, Alan Shearer. Every time I look at it, it's really annoying me. Every time I look at it, I'm thinking, it looks like, has Alan Shearer got a brother that we don't know about or something?
It looks like he'd be Scottish as well sometimes when I look at him. I mean, we did wonder if it was Maurice Scott who was on trial, but I looked at a picture of him 2 years earlier at Plymouth, and a picture of him actually managing in Wales in his 50s, and the hair loss is too quick for 2 years' time from his Plymouth time.
We also found
the annoying thing is, John said to me on Twitter that he played reserve games, so it's not in the friendlies, which would have made it a hell of a lot easier. So we're going to have to admit defeat on this one, and we'll get the answer for next time.
Yes, hopefully we will do.
And as soon as he messages me what the answer is, I'm going to kick myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fair play, John. It's the first time he's beaten us on this, isn't it? We always seem to win, but yeah, we found it.
But
go on.
We've got one back for him when we get the answer to this one, haven't we?
Yes, it's a belter, the one we found.
This is an absolute belter, and if he can name this one, we will doff our caps.
Yeah. Definitely, absolutely. Right then, let's get into it. Behind enemy lines, so for the final time this season, for the regular season, and probably the final time till the playoff final, possibly. If we're playing Salford, I won't be able to find one of their bloody fans, will I? We are speaking to Mike from the Sutton United Talk Time On podcast, which if you can't work it out, SUTT on podcast. So it's Sutton Podcast. It's quite clever, actually. It took me a while to work it out in my head when he told me it, but there you go. So yeah, it was a good little crack with Mike. We basically just discussed how they've settled into the EFL in the last 2 seasons. Whether there's any disappointment over missing out on the playoffs after, going on quite an impressive run at one point, actually, looking like they might just sneak in at the last minute. And what's next in terms of the club's development over the next few years. So here's the chat I had with Mike. So yes, here we are for the final behind enemy lines of the regular season. I mean, fingers crossed there that there's no disaster in this game. No offence, Mike, who we're about to speak to now. Yes, we're speaking to Mike from the Sutton United Talk Time On podcast. Now, you explained last time, because if you cleverly, if anyone's worked it out, if you take the first letters of those and then the on of the first 4 words, add on, and then podcast, it's just Sutton Podcast, isn't it?
That's the one, thank you.
Yes, I worked it out. I remembered it from last time. There you go. Yeah, so we're going to talk to you, Mike, about all things Sutton. Let's get straight into it then. So you guys are now just coming to the end of your second ever season in the Football League. You're on for another comfortable mid-table finish. You must be pretty pleased with how things have gone so far. Because, I mean, you compared against some of the other clubs that come, your likes of your Stockport counties and, your Wrexham who are going to be coming up, and some of the ones who, are splashing money and throwing it about. You guys aren't doing that, are you? You have to do it a different way. And it kind of feels like you're a great example of how to get up and actually be very secure and do it the right way for a club of your size.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a weird one. We often kind of get thrown out, well, you're in London, so you must have lots of fans. And it's like, well, yeah, so there's loads of other teams in London.
Yeah.
So we're sort of fighting for fans, for players. I looked at the attendance table. I'm hoping that you guys help us out on this on Monday, but I think we're on average of 3,200, which is 20th in the league.
Yeah.
Sounds like, it's quite low, but we go back 5-6 years, and that's nearly 4 times. Well, no, maybe it's a little bit less than that, but our average a couple of years ago was just over 1,000. We were delighted with it. So we are doing it, we think and hope, the right way, as you say. We haven't got enough money to throw around. When we were doing well last season, sort of earlier on this season, one of the songs they sing is Sutton's going up with a tenner in the bank to the tune of Yellow Submarine.
Yeah.
But it's the collective team spirit, really, that's got us there.
Yeah, well, it's interesting about the crowds there, because like you said, you are 20th in the average attendance table. But like you say, the thing with London is, there's a lot of people there, but it's also very easy to get around London. So you can go and watch pretty much any club you want, can't you? Really, you can get from Sutton to go and watch Arsenal in next to no time and that kind of thing. So that has an impact. And actually, compared against some of the other clubs that come, I mean, looking at Salford City and the crowds they get, I mean, some games they've been struggling to get 1,300 for the home game, haven't they? So it's kind of like, I think actually, I don't think you should be too harsh on those tenors. I think it's perfectly fine. I mean, Macclesfield Town now, who are in the they've just got promoted to the Northern Premier League Premier Division, which is, I think, 7th tier football. They've just been promoted to that. They're getting crowds of 3,500 now, and they struggle to get 2,000 in the Football League when they're in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it sometimes goes to show situations and how your club's doing, and the local community get behind it, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, the promotions are sort of, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, yes, we did really well last season. We lost out on the playoffs by 1 point. But had we gone up, we would definitely have struggled in League One, which then you would have definitely seen a tail off people. People don't want to come and watch a team get beaten every single week. So
No.
There's a kind of, there's a balance. But yeah, we are our second season ever in the Football League. Matt Gray is a genius, and he's led us to our 3 highest league positions in our history, with the National League last season and wherever he finished this season. And when you speak to Sutton fans, if you speak to Sutton fans at the start of next season and ask them, what do you want? Every single one of them, we've been conditioned almost to say 50 points. So the first thing is, let's stay in this division, and then we'll talk about what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
So we're happy.
I mean, on that point of, in terms of this season, I mean, is there maybe a little bit of disappointment with missing out on the playoffs after finishing 8th last season? I mean, especially because there was one point I remember we were looking on our pod and we were talking about looking at the form table, and we kept saying, Sutton are really flying at the moment. They're going a little bit under the radar. They could easily sneak into 7th place here. And then it just seemed like you just ran out of a little bit of steam.
It definitely is that. First 20 minutes of this season, against Newport way back on the ridiculous time of July.
Yeah.
We lost probably our best defender, who
Yeah.
swept the player awards last year. He had a knee injury and he was out until we were told to. Well, we weren't entirely sure he was going to come back this season, but in the end he did come back in December. It started a domino effect where we were losing players left, right, and centre. I know you told me earlier that you've got one player coming in and then the next one goes out.
Yeah.
We were having this, but all in the same position. So we had no central defenders for a while, no midfielders, and we were struggling. So we were fighting for every single point, and we were kind of there or thereabouts, always safe, never really troubling the relegation. Then we did really well, and I think that's added to our disappointment because we did quite well and we got really close. And I think we came up against Barrow, and if we had won against them, we would have been pushing for that playoff spot. We then drew that game. It then started a run off. I think we drew to Mansfield, and I think we then lost to Grimsby, and a horrible draw to Walsall where they had one shot, and I think it was in the 94th minute, and our keeper, who's been brilliant, spilled it and got an equaliser. So, and I think that just took the wind out of the players a little bit because all of a sudden, after 3 years, they didn't have anything to push for. They were safe. There was no playoffs, and we've been talking about this earlier on my pod, going, actually, I think the players have just kind of subconsciously just got knackered, and just we don't know where the next win is coming from, which is unfortunate because we still do have some games to play, and we could still finish in the top 10, which would be great for us, but we could also equally finish 16th. Which would be a little disappointing, but still, start of the season I would have taken it absolutely 100%.
Your manager, Matt Gray, you mentioned him earlier, done a phenomenal job, hasn't he? You mentioned also he's got your highest ever finishes in terms of the last 3 seasons. It seems a stupid question to ask, but your fans must be happy with the job he's doing. Yeah,
I mean, like I mentioned, we've got a lot of old gits like me who've been supporting the club for a long time. There's a huge contingent of younger fans who I'm extremely jealous of because over the last 12 years we've come up from was the Ryman League to the National South to the National League to the League Two. So we've had nothing but success for 12 years, and we keep kind of sitting there like, oh, it's never going to be like this always. And then we've got even more younger fans, and I think some of the newer fans are more into league football, and they're kind of pointing out this run is a bad run. And I think one of them did a little video on Insta or TikTok saying, is it time for Matt Gray to leave? And they got shouted down very quickly. And the video was removed very quickly. But yeah, a phenomenal job. He's got so much in the bank that every supporter just knows that we wouldn't be where we are without Matt Gray and his team, his backroom team. He's very quick to point out it's not just him. He's the figurehead, but he's got a whole team behind him doing a lot of the work. I've had him on and chatted to him a couple of times, and afterwards I've said to the missus, God, I'm ready to give him 20 minutes and I'm rubbish. So God knows what it's like for professional athletes.
Brilliant.
But yeah, brilliant bloke.
Yeah. So talk about the game that's just been, the game against Rochdale, because
do we have to?
I can say it when we were looking through the results yesterday, trying to work out, where are we, what's the permutations, we're thinking, all right, we might have to get some from Sutton. We all took one look at your result and went, 4-1 to Rochdale, already relegated Rochdale. I mean, we kind of got the impression you guys had dropped off recently. We were like, that seems a hell of a drop off. What on earth happened in that game?
Wish we knew. One of those, we got caught, I think, for the first goal, and we didn't really recover very well for the second goal. And then our keeper, he's the reserve keeper, and he was kind of given a chance because our first keeper's got carrying a bit of an injury, and we wanted to rest him, and then he got himself sent off on 30 minutes. So obviously with 10 men, our confidence is shot. So although, looking at the league table, we were, I think, 13 from Rochdale already relegated. On the form, we'd lost 4 in a row, and I don't think we'd won in 9, whereas Rochdale have been picking up points. So we had kind of seen this game as that's a real banana skin. And obviously Rochdale were a little bit up for it. It's their last ever home game in the Football League for a while, maybe, who knows. So we knew they'd be up for it. Little bit, kind of would be furious if I was a Rochdale fan because It's like,
Yeah,
where's
I
this
get
been
you.
all season?
I get
Why
exactly
haven't-
what you mean.
But yeah, we could still be there now and be struggling. It's just a serious lack of confidence at the moment. Hopefully, the week and couple of days will give the guys a bit of a chance to go, right, we need to give a proper send off. But who knows what Sutton's going to turn up? I don't know. But yeah, it was just. I'd love to say it was one of those games, but it's actually a repeat of the scoreline that we had to Colchester the week before. Colchester also in the bottom six. So the first 2 times we've conceded 4 goals this season have been to 2 teams in the bottom 6.
It's the way it is sometimes, isn't it? Just the way it is. Yeah, so in terms of the squad, who are the danger men to watch out for in there? I mean, I have to admit, when I look through, there's a few names I recognise, but it is what... You are kind of one of those teams, you get a lot of these teams that come up from the non-league set up around the London area, and you've got a lot of players you've picked up from other non-league clubs around the area and from the academies at, you know, the bigger clubs. Who are the men to look out for?
So the ones who you won't have to worry about is Craig Eastman, who's he's so instrumental to what we do. He just makes everything tick. But he got a knee injury a few weeks ago, and he's out for the season.
Yeah.
One more game. And Louis John, one of our defenders, is also out. Ben Goodliff is a great defender. Kobe Rowe, when they're 2 of them on their game, they're almost unstoppable, but very uncharacteristic mistakes the last couple of games. Who knows whether it's just tiredness or just, I don't know, just nothing to play for. Dave Adjaboy, when he's on his form, he's come back to us on loan in January from Peterborough. We sold him to Peterborough in the summer and then took him back in January. When he's on it, you really struggle. I know you mentioned that your left wing back is having a great season, but if Dave's on it, he'll have a real test. Omar Bagil, one of those players that you would love if he's in your team, but he's very easy to dislike if he's up against you.
A lot of bookings, hasn't he? I noticed that. I think he's got the worst. Has he got the worst disciplinary record on the division?
Probably, but he gets booked for tying up his shoelaces. Seriously, he gets battered and battered and battered. And then the first time he puts a challenge in to kind of like start evening the score up a bit, the card's popping out, and it's like, come on. Even taking aside that I'm slightly biased here, that is ridiculous. My missus came to a game. I can't remember who it was. Oh yeah, it was Swindon against on Valentine's. And even she was saying he does get kicked a lot, that one, doesn't he? So,
I've just double checked 13 yellow cards. So he's one ahead of I think 3 other players basically. In fact, looking at the 3 other players, 2 of them used to play for Carlisle, fair enough. Elliot Watson and Hayden White, and Hayden White being up there doesn't surprise us in the slightest. But there you go.
He did miss yesterday's game, so whether that's an injury or illness, because we've had illness running through the camp as well. So. It's a difficult one. I would normally be straight away saying, right, Dave Adjaboy is a great player. Craig Easton, you want to look for Ali Smith, but even Alistair Smith's gone off the boil a little bit recently. So any of them on their day can produce it, but unfortunately the last few weeks their day hasn't been a Saturday or a Tuesday.
No, certainly not. In terms of future ambitions for the club, what are the club? I mean, establishing yourself as a league club seems to be the obvious thing to do, and you've obviously done the work on the away end, which I'll ask you about in a minute. But what's sort of the ambitions now in terms of establishing yourself? Because we do see occasionally these clubs come up from the non-league setup, and some of the ones that come up in London in the past, you know, you've had your Barnets and your Dagenhams, and they do well initially, but then they drop off. So is the challenge supposed to get yourself established for like a decade in the Football League or something like that?
Well, there's two parts to this answer. One is 12 years ago we were promoted into the Conference South.
Yeah.
7 years ago we were promoted into the Conference National. 2 years ago we were promoted into the League Two. So we've got a 5-year plan for each of these divisions.
Yeah.
So we are putting a little bit of pressure on the manager, going, well, come on, you've got to keep up the record. The board are, and I've said this before and it is really boring, but our board are basically a bunch of accountants. They will not put the club's long-term future at risk. It was quite frustrating sort of in the 90s and the early 2000s when we had a great team, lots of players who were young, hungry, and a lot of them actually went on to Football League matches. One of them, Nicky Bailey, got to Middlesbrough, Millwall, a couple other clubs.
Carlisle fans know about Nicky Bailey.
Yeah,
Let me just tell you, he's not a popular person with Carlisle fans. Just leave it
No,
there.
but he could have stayed, but we couldn't afford it, and they wouldn't break the wage structure. Looking back now, absolutely, because there were other teams around us who did it, and they've gone terribly down. But we will be around playing at a similar-ish level in the next 20, 30 years. Hopefully, a kind of level or two above. They've got lots of work to do off the pitch. They do look at clubs, which is probably a bad example at the moment, but like Accrington, saying, well, hang on, how are they doing it with small crowds? What have Brentford done? And they're looking at these clubs going, okay, what's the models? How can we do this? But I can't see a world where we kind of overextend ourselves. And yeah, they're big target every season. It's boring, as I say, but 50 points, and then we'll see where we are, what we can do from that point onwards. But hopefully we'll be a league club for many, many years to come now.
Well, we've got about 1,000 fans travelling down for this game, hoping that we get the points that we technically need to secure our place in the playoffs, unless there's a ridiculous 9-goal swing. But as Paul Simpson said, that happened last season, so we can't take any risks there. But can you tell us what changes have been to the ground since we went last season? Because I went down for that one, and to be fair, it wasn't the worst away end I've been in. I mean, it's certainly not a Barrow. If you've ever been to Barrow, we talk about Barrow's away end a lot on our podcast and how bad it is, but it wasn't as bad as that. But you could tell it needed a bit of work, and it looks like you guys have done something there now.
Yeah, well, that tells me straight away you didn't need the toilet when you were around that match, because they were voted one of the worst toilets in the league about 12 years ago. But lots of work had to be done. I mean, it seems really silly to say we're going to deal with the away end first. Yeah. But firstly, that end, it's the easiest to do the segregation. Yeah. And it was the easiest to identify as going, well, actually, we've got space to go there. So you've got shiny new stands. I am doing my very best to kind of point out that what we need to be doing is putting the away fans in the rotten bits of the stadium. But you've currently got shiny new stands. There is a very sort of well-named fan zone behind it. The reason I say that is when we were at Wembley last year, we were very excited to go and see what the fan zone was all about, because obviously we're small time, we've never had this, and rocked up and there's basically a bar and some chairs. It's like, okay, that's very underwhelming. Yeah. So we've managed to replicate a fan zone. There's bar and a food truck, I think, and I think you can get in there 90 minutes before the match, I believe. But if not, there's a fan zone in the front entrance as well, and we're not that kind of club, so anyone can rock up and they'll get served beer. But it's a lot of work's gone in there. We've got a bit more work to do. I believe the plans have to be submitted already, I think, by the end of April, to say what we're going to do with the remaining work we have to do. And I think we then get a chance to do it not necessarily this summer, but maybe by the end of next summer, because they like to give, for all the faults of the FA and the EFL, they like to give teams who've come up a bit of a chance to get the work done, because they don't want to spend a load of money and then go straight back down again.
But Barrow have had 3 years to do theirs, and they're only just getting around to doing it now.
Yeah, so I think we can kind of point to Barrow and Harrogate as well as examples, and especially as we, like Harrogate, had to rip up the perfectly fine pitch and put down grass. But yeah, there's a lot to go on, a lot to do behind the scenes, and the board are kind of very keen to push the narrative of we are working very hard to catch up with the success on the pitch and do it right off the pitch. There are things we won't get right, and there's things we definitely don't get right, but the fact is we learn from it, and we try and make it a good experience. And one reason why they want to have a pleasant experience for away fans, I'm sure you would have seen various things on social media about our stewards, is we want away fans to come back again, because you quite need your money, thanks. So spend the money. Yeah,
it's a weird one, that one, because when people ask us what's your favourite away day in League Two, they've been asking us in recent seasons, and almost always all three of us in our pod say Leyton Orient. Leyton Orient's the best one. You'd think, well, that's one of your longest ones of the season, but yeah, it's a great day out. The grounds are decent, it's got a mixture of the old and the new there. The stews are really friendly. There's some great pubs nearby, although the Coach and Horses doesn't let you in anymore, which is annoying for home fans. But that's probably because they've been so successful and they get such big crowds. It's home fans only that one now. But yeah, you're right. It makes a difference getting the away fans coming in. And we've had a few teams, like Tranmere was saying, they'll be absolutely gutted if we go up, because it's one of their favourite away days of the season. And even the Stockport fans who've been out of the league for so long were saying, oh, this feels like a proper away day we're coming to here. Like, they're really, really excited about the fact that we're getting to come to us again. So it goes to show, doesn't it? Mike, you've been very generous with your time. We're going to finish up now. I'm going to ask you for a prediction for this weekend's game. Say weekend, Easter, Coronation Monday game.
Damn it, I was really hoping to go, well, there'll be no game at the weekend. That's my prediction. There we go. I'm going to really sit on the fence. The manager needs to tear into the players and needs to really push it to them that they need to kind of give us a bit of a send-off for the summer. Some of them are out of contract, so they need to be either putting themselves in the shop window or getting a new contract at our place as well. I think we will put up a good performance. By good performance, I don't mean flowing football. I mean we will be battling for everything, and I do think that they'll be well up for it physically. Whereas some of your players may kind of be like, whoa, hang on a minute, we've got playoffs to be thinking about here. I'm not saying they'll bottle it or anything like that, but in the back of your mind, you're going to be thinking they're quite big, this team. So I would say we're going to either get a draw or we will nick it in the last few minutes to make us all very, very happy and you quickly checking results. If it was an 8 or 9 goal swing, that is not going to come from our end. If we win, it'll be by 1 goal.
Paul Simpson said, if we miss out on the playoffs now in the 46th game because of an 8 or 9 goal swing, we don't deserve to be in the playoffs. And he's absolutely right with that, to be fair. So I'll happily take a draw. And you know what? I'd probably take a 1-0 defeat right now, as long as we're in there and it's all sorted. Brilliant. Mike, thanks for your time. And I usually say all the best for the rest of the season at this point, but your season ends this weekend. So yeah, I hope you have a great summer. And you know, in the nicest way possible, I hope we're not playing you next season.
I was going to say, hope we don't speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks once again to Mike for giving up his time to speak. Because I did a little bit for his podcast. Well, you can go and listen to that if you go and find them on social media. I think we retweeted it earlier in the week, didn't we? I think the bit I did with them. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, Monday, 8th of May, 12:30pm kickoff at Gander Green Lane. I love that name for the ground. It's a brilliant name for a football ground, isn't it, really, when you consider some of the other ones that you get.
A ground I vowed never to return to after last season. And here I am, train booked tomorrow, stopping over.
Amazing. I nearly booked a stopover. I decided not to, and then after I've been going down on the day, I'm glad I kind of took the risk, because even if it doesn't work out well, it doesn't really matter. We're going to be in the playoffs, touch wood. Yeah, so going into this one, referee is Darren Drysdale from Lincolnshire. It's Drysdale's 19th season as an EFL referee. He must be one of the most experienced in the league, surely.
Yeah.
You think. Probably best remembered, though, for the incident he had with Alan Judge when he was at Ipswich a few years ago, isn't he? Do you remember this one?
Yeah.
So essentially, I think he got suspended, Drysdale, from refereeing for a few games or something because he allegedly headbutted. It wasn't really a headbutt, was it? He sort of leaned into him, and he's an RAF officer, is Drysdale, so he's probably not one you'd want to pick a fight with, is he, really?
No.
And he towers over Judge as well. Judge is only tiny. But there you go. This season, he's taken charge of 32 games so far, handing out 98 yellows and 2 red cards. Nice and round, that, isn't it? If he hands out maybe 1 yellow tomorrow and a red card to a Sutton player, that brings it to a nice round number, doesn't it? 33, 99 and 3. Yeah,
why would you do that? Why would you do that tomorrow?
On Monday, even. Sorry, for God's sake, I'm completely losing track of where we are because of the ridiculous weekend. There you go. Last season, he handed out 113 yellow cards, 3 red cards in 35 games. So he's reduced the number he's given out this season, actually, to be fair. And last United game he took charge of was the 2-1 home win over Stevenage last season. Head-to-head wise, it's only the 4th meeting between the two sides. United still haven't beaten Sutton. 1 draw and 2 defeats. Sutton United, Dan. We're just saying there, we had a little chat while I was sort of queuing in the behind the enemy lines bit. I'm always a bit funny about, smaller clubs coming up from the non-leagues. You want a bit of variety. You want some new teams in there. Some of them you're like, the Salford I'm just not bothered about. I don't see the need of them being in there. I know that sounds a bit elitist and whatever. I just don't. Whereas with Sutton, I actually don't mind the fact that you're getting a new London club coming up, because it's always always Barnet that comes up, isn't it? It's a change of scenery. I know you vowed you'd never go back, but But yeah.
And like I was just saying off air as well, you know, looking at the National League playoffs, there's still a chance Bromley could come up. Byron Webster's Bromley.
He was on the bench the other night, wasn't he? I think when they beat Woking. Yeah. It's a real shame for Woking that because they've had like probably their best ever season at that level, and because you know there's 3 extraordinarily well backed teams ahead of them.
Yeah,
they're going out in the first round of the playoffs because it's one-legged. There's not a chance to come back from it. Whereas you know, and that, I mean, you didn't mention the other team that potentially could come up, but we'd rather they didn't we? The our old friends at Boreham Wood. Obviously, they're playing in the. Are they playing Notts County today, or are they playing Chesterfield? I can't remember which one. It's
tomorrow Sunday.
Tomorrow's Sunday. Sorry, right. So they play in Chesterfield or Boreham Wood.
Notts County, Boreham Wood. It is.
Oh, come on, Notts County then. That's all I can say.
And Chesterfield v Bromley.
Either way, I'm not really fussed on them. I mean, Chesterfield's not too far to get to be fair. It's an all right away end. So. But anyway, hopefully we won't be playing.
I've not done the new ground yet. So
have you not? Oh well, hopefully we won't get a chance next season either because we'll be going up. That's the hope, isn't it? Sutton United then done. Fair play. They've really settled into EFL life really well. Considering what happened with them coming up, they lost their 3G4. I don't know what it's called. Their artificial pitch that they had that brought them in a lot of money and really helped them. They had to dig that up when they came up. That's a loss of income. You know, that's a real change for them. But they've settled in really well, and they've never ever looked in danger of being in trouble. In fact, actually, they've looked more likely to be up the other end of the table, haven't they?
Yeah. Since their chance of playoffs has gone, the form's really dropped off a cliff, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a weird one because it was draws that cost them. Actually, I think they had 2 or 3 draws, didn't they? That just dropped them off, and at that point, it was kind of like, well, we haven't really got a chance now, and they just the form, went through. They've lost the last 6 in a row. You know, I'm tempting fate here massively, but, they haven't won in the last 10. The last win was a 3-0 win over Crawley. At that point, you thought, well, they really could sneak in here. They've got a chance of overhauling the whoever's in 7th, but actually, they've dropped off. But, I mean, to do as well as they had, I'm looking at the table now. They have actually dropped down to 14th, but I don't think that's really a reflection on the season they've had because of that bad run of form they've had. They could finish, looking here, as low as 16th, but looks unlikely, to be honest, because possibly they could actually, if Doncaster wins, so they could finish as low as 16th. But like I said, they may be looking and think, right, we need to sort that out for next season. But by all accounts, they've had quite a few problems with defensive injuries this season. They've continued for the whole season. I think 2 of their best defenders have been out for most of the campaign. So to do as well as they have is probably a bit of a credit to their manager, Matt Gray, who's done an incredible job there, hasn't he, over the last 3 years. 4 years, sorry, I should say. April 2019 he took over. Looking through their squad and transfers and stuff, Dan. January, they brought a few players in. They brought David Ajiboye back, didn't they, on loan from Peterborough, who does all kinds of problems last season when he played against us, which not great hindsight for Monday. Leon Gull in from Bradford. Leon Gull's a weird one, isn't he? Because some people seem to rave about him. I've never been impressed with him at all, have you?
No, I haven't. One ex-Blue who did go out, Kwame Thomas, former trialist, went to Dundee on loan.
Yes.
What a bizarre transfer. Dundee, who were involved in an incredible game last night to get promoted.
5-3 win against Queen's Park, which actually does give us something to mention in the ex-Blue section. I haven't put it in there, but I've remembered it just before, so I'll remind you of that when we get to that point, Dan. You look at in January, it's a lot of players other than Angle and Ajiboye that I've not really heard of, if I'm honest.
It's one of my sayings, but it's very much M25 roundabout sort of, a lot of these players just go from team to team in that area, which, they're gonna, they don't need to travel much further.
No, you're absolutely right, yeah. Looking in terms of John, when they signed it's the same with the ones that signed in the summer last August. One of the ones we always pointed out at the time, wasn't it? It was a weird one. It was Matt Ridley from Whitby Town. I think he's actually already left. He's not listed on the on their squad on Transfermarkt. I'll have a quick check where he's at now. But that was one we thought, bloody hell, how are they scouting him? It was a very, very strange one, wasn't it, to bring a lad from Whitby Town down to think. He's at Chesham United now, so I wonder if he's on loan there, maybe, possibly. I'm not sure. So Yeah,
He is
look
on
at
loan.
it. He's on loan, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Very solid looking midfield is the first thing that stands out for me when you look at them. Craig Eastman, which I don't think he's going to play. I think he's actually injured possibly, so I think he won't be available for this one. Harry Buterman's one who's been about for quite a while, hasn't he, I think. And Luke Gambin, is he a Malta international? I imagine not. Is it Gibraltar?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good as well. And
Will Randall's been, I think he's also injured at the moment, Randall, but he's been a mainstay of the team.
Yeah, I mean...
Gambin seems to be on the bench a lot at the moment. In fact, he's hardly played. He's not played much at all, no.
No. They did give their backup keeper a chance last week, Bradley House, against Rochdale. Didn't work out too well, that did it? He got sent off after half an hour.
Sent off 28 minutes.
So they had to bring him back in, Jack Rose, the first choice. So he's back in, I think Rose actually cocked up quite a bit. Right then, Dan, as I've mentioned before, obviously, in terms of form, Sutton are currently 24th in the last 6 games, record of 6 losses in a row, basically. United 10th, actually, with a record of 3 draws, win and a loss. Obviously, we're going to be switching to the back three, we're pretty sure of that. What do we do then? How do you replace Mellish? That's the question.
For me, it's pretty easy. I think it's Whelan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's seen a couple of people saying he's been rubbish when he's played at left centre back, but
I'm one of them.
You know.
and I've got memories of that Harrogate game, and he just didn't cope well with playing there that role. The problem is this: if you do that, what are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that Barkley goes into the right centre back, and we put Gibson at right wing back?
Gibson at right wing back.
Yeah.
Speaking of right wing backs, Finn Bax actually posted a picture today of his feet with a ball at them. I would suggest it's far too early for Monday, but playoffs, never know.
Final at a push, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
We'd have to wait and see. There was worry that he wasn't going to be back till August, wasn't there? It was a reoccurrence, but clearly wasn't as bad an injury as the original one, which is good for him, and hopefully, fingers crossed, good for us as well. Would you not consider the option of putting Armour at left centre back and Robinson left wing back?
No,
you wouldn't do that.
No,
not even just try it out for this game, maybe.
No, I'm one who thinks Armour will become a centre back in time, but no, why change what he's done all season?
Fair enough.
I know it's only one game, etc., but
would you consider maybe Barkley as the left-sided centre back rather than the right-sided?
No, he seems a right-sided player. Just yeah.
Interesting to see what he does. I personally, I wouldn't be against in the Sutton game having a look at it that way. Maybe I don't want to be too risky and to sound like we're being disrespectful here, but I'd be tempted to try out. The issue we've got is, I keep saying this, I know it's looking unlikely that we would, but if we play Stockport in the semis,
we want to finish 5th though, because if we finish 5th, we get the home advantage second leg,
and you're not going to be playing Stockport in the semis, probably.
No.
So, yeah, that's the one, I guess. Midfield.
If we do play well and push on, and we'll say we're 2-0 up and cruising, you can maybe try one or two of these things.
Yeah, possibly might work a look. Midfield. Obviously, Mellish comes out of that now. McCalmont did very well after coming on as a sub. It just seems very obvious. Just drop him in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you're going to have Gibson at right wing back, I would suggest that McCalmont starts, and then up front, as we discussed earlier, it's 2 partners, Dennis for me.
Yeah, I'd probably be tempted to go Edmondson for this one. I think maybe
I'd probably start Edmondson and Garner can come on.
Yeah, Garner and Patrick come on later on to change it. In terms of subs, who comes in for Mellish and Devitt? Then obviously we've got. Well, I suppose the thing is, you've got Joel. If you said all this, and Joel Senior's fit, we completely forgot to mention him. So he can come in instead of Gibson, can't he? I guess.
I would say Senior will probably be on the bench.
Yeah.
And
Harris, I suppose.
Well, you'd say Harris, but you could put Kai Nugent on.
there's the option there, isn't there? I was going to say that. Actually,
He's match fit.
well, funny enough, with
And if we are comfortable in the game, why not give him a 20-minute run out for this pro sort of,
possibly, yeah, yeah. The thing to remember is, what, as I said before, nothing's been mentioned, but Edmondson was hobbling a bit when he came off, when he came back out after the game. So if he's got a knock, he might be able
Garner
to
would
fix.
start.
Yeah, and then maybe that is the chance to put Nugent and Harris both on the bench. But
Yeah.
there's options there. And I don't think there's anyone else missing out at the moment who's available, is there?
No.
I think, 'cause I'm looking at it, shows Silver's not fit. Obviously, Dickinson's still a bit off.
Dickinson,
No, so yeah, and there's been whispers that Feeney could be fit for the place, but I've heard someone dismiss them and say no, he's not. He's not going to be available. That's what I've heard, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, we've already touched on what the other teams are playing, aren't we? I mean, in terms of the place, when you look at it, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves a bit too much here, but who's your preference to face?
I genuinely am not bothered because I think Stockport are going up.
Yeah. And actually, Northampton might not be the worst team to face because...
Yeah. I think, barring surprise results, I think we're playing Bradford home and away.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to beat Orient more comfortably than Salford can get a result against Gillingham?
Possibly. You don't know. I just think it's been set up to be Bradford for a while, but
Yeah.
like I said, after what happened last week, Salford,
Yeah, Salford would be nice. I'd quite like to have a big crowd at Wembley for the final, and my worry is that we end up playing Salford at Wembley, and it's just...
Well, if you play any of Bradford, Stockport, or Northampton, they'll at least travel decently, won't they?
Yeah, you'd think you'd be looking at 40, 50,000 for the overall crowd.
Yeah,
for that,
yeah,
at least,
yeah.
wouldn't you? So
What do you think we take?
15. I'm being realistic here. One week notice. No trains on.
I don't know. I think we might get closer to 20 than people realise.
Maybe. I just it's the time as much as if you had maybe 10 days, and it was on a Saturday at like 3:00.
Yeah,
maybe. But I think that Sunday early kickoff, trains poor.
Yeah,
not great. But there you go. Right. Let's do predictions then, Dan. You and Mike both gained a point last week, and I didn't. So you're 1 point ahead going into these final few games. What are you going for? You're not going for it. You're barred from picking an 11-0 win, by the way, in this one.
Well, I was actually going to go for 16-0 and feature some subs as well, but I'm going to go for a comfortable 3-1 win.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Dennis will score. Owen Moxon will score. And Paul Huntington.
Okay. I'm going for 3-0, and I'm going to go for Joe Garner to get another. Alfie McCalmont and Corey Whelan to get one. Why not? Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's blow my chances of winning the competition this season. Right, Mike sent in his prediction, so here's what Mike had to say.
I'm going to go for a 2-0 win with goals from Dennis and Garner.
Oh, well, he's covered us both off there, hasn't he, basically? We have our goal scorer score. There you go. Right, X-Files time, Dan, to wrap things up.
Yeah, a few knocking about. Connor Townsend, not one we mentioned too much, scored for West Brom as they beat Norwich 2-1 at home. It's mad that Connor Townsend actually played for us when you think about it. You forget.
You kind of forget. Yeah, you do forget when he because he was that long ago, wasn't it? It's just...
Yeah. Cole Stockton got a double. Great escape on from Morecambe. Big weekend in League One. He scored twice as they picked up a massive 3-2 victory at home to Lincoln. Lincoln have actually been quite good away recently. So
yeah, that's Stockton's second brace in the space of 2 weeks, isn't it? As well?
Making headlines for good reasons. Kyle Dempsey scored for Bolton in a 2-0 win over former team Fleetwood. Andy Cook scored for Bradford as they beat Northampton 2-1 last weekend. Patrick Brough got a red card sent off for Barrow in their defeat at Hartlepool. It could be his last appearance for the Bluebirds because he'll be suspended this week because it was a second yellow. And there are rumours that Wrexham are sniffing about him.
Good move for him if he goes there.
I've
It's
no
a
idea
good
if
move,
it's
isn't
true. I've no idea if it's true, just what someone told me.
it?
Adam Campbell scored Gateshead's 4-0 win over Maidenhead, and Cameron Selcold scored for Clyde in their 2-1 defeat at Dunfermline. Midweek, as we've sort of already mentioned, Andy Cook for Bradford in that mad 3-2 loss at Crewe. Promoted and relegated, trophies. Jared Branthwaite scored an own goal. I don't know if anyone's seen this, but he was actually quite unlucky. It wasn't much he could do about it. But he got a winner's medal as PSV beat Ajax 3-2 on penalties after a 1-1 draw. I watched a bit of this game, and it was some penalty shootout, hitting the bar, post, keeper saved, brilliant.
The Dutch are never very good at penalties, are they? They're one country worse than England, aren't they?
Promotions: Oliver Norwood, Sheffield United. Macaulay Gillespie and Sam Cosgrove for Plymouth, who were managed by Stephen Schumacher.
Yeah.
Richard Keogh at Ipswich Town.
You forget he's there. I completely forgot Richard Keogh was there,
Adam Murray and Chris Beach at AFC Fylde.
The management team.
Workington, there's loads. Danny Eccles, Charlie Birch, Dan Wordsworth, Kieran Casson, Connor Tinian, Dav Simonton, Keelan Leslie, Stephen Rigg, and Danny Granger, manager, obviously.
Yeah.
Relegated, Ben Amos and Charlie Wyke at Wigan, and Gary Medine and Jerry Yates at Blackpool. That's two good games in League One if we were to go up.
Yes, before you go into the other one, Dan, just to say there is one more promoted. One I missed last night, and I spotted when someone sent me a screenshot from the Queen's Park v Dundee game. Assistant manager of Dundee, Billy Barr. So he's been
and Kwame
promoted.
Thomas, former trialist, if we're pushing the boat out.
We really are pushing the boat out with that, aren't we?
Yeah.
There you go.
But Wigan and Blackpool both come down finally. Two good potential games if we can get into League One. And Reading joined them, didn't they? Huddersfield pulled off a great escape. So if we did go up, we'd play Reading for the first time since 1982.
Wow. It's the first ever time with Majeski, wasn't it? So,
and a random other news, John Holliday, former defender, has got a new job at Gretna.
Yeah, not the Gretna Football Club, I should say.
Hotel type industry and weddings and
brilliant stuff there. Right, that's it then, Dan. That's everything covered. Thank you very much once again to our sponsors, the Carlisle United Supporters Club London branch. What have we got coming up? We'll do a playoff special. Obviously before the first leg, we'll do a sort of different one for the second leg. We won't do a regular sort of preview because obviously we'll have previewed whatever team we're playing anyway. So
we'll be able to review the first game, won't we?
Yeah, we'll review the first game and we have a quick look ahead to the next game. But it's we'll see how that one goes. But there you go. So that's it. Thanks for joining me, Dan.
No bother.
Thanks everyone for listening, and most importantly of all, up the Blues.
Up the Blues.